Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. That way we can make sure we're on time for everybody today. Welcome. My name is Mallory with Missouri Public Transit Association. I appreciate you guys all joining us today for our vendor spotlight. And let me make sure I'm not muted. Okay, good, because I do that a lot. Let's see, we are talking about innovative transit solutions today to improve your fleet. The great thing about these solutions is that they're all things that you can incorporate into your existing fleet. As transit fleets look for ways to improve their service and experience, not only for their riders, but also for the operators, those transit managers, things that are going to make putting these buses and fleets in service and making them easier to manage are really important. And there's really innovative solutions that are needed. Today we have the opportunity to hear from some of our vendor members. So thank you for being vendor members and see what they have available to assist us with. First, I'd like to recognize any of the MPTA board members that are with us this morning. Looks like Matt and Crawford and Mark Mamer are on with us today. So thank you both for being here. Please let us know if you have any questions or contributions. I'd also like to welcome our two presenters. So we have Chris, and Chris, can you help me with your last name? Ishmael? Oh, hold on, I think you're still muted.
There we go. Ishmael, yes, you got it.
All right, great. Good start, good start. I should have asked you before we started. He's the president of CWI Digital Systems and will discuss the benefits to the entire transit organization of installing mobile digital video recording with live tracking and streaming capabilities. So I'm pretty excited to hear about that. And then Eric will go after that, and Eric Lawson, and he is a fuel consultant with Meg Corp. We'll talk about biodiesel as a low carbon renewable alternative to diesel fuels that can be used in existing diesel vehicles and equipment stored and dispensed through existing infrastructure. Each of them will talk for about 15 minutes or so. We'll take questions. If you have a question and you don't want to forget it, just stick it in chat, send it to us through the Q&A it's usually at the bottom of your screen, and we will make sure to get to those as well. Please be sure to get those questions in, and I think that's it. So welcome everyone. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and let's hear about some of those technologies that you're telling us about.
All right, thank you, Mallory. Appreciate it. It's good to be with everybody in Missouri. We look forward to being with you in St. Louis in a couple of weeks as well. And hope that you'll come by our booth and let us shake your hand and get to meet you and show you some of our hardware and some of the services we offer. We're going to run through most of that today. I'm going to go share my screen here. And hoping everybody can see that. Okay, now we're giving me the thumbs up. So we appreciate the opportunity once again. I'm going to go through what we're going to cover today. Who is CWI Digital Systems? What you get with each MDVR system you get from us. The installation process, offloading video files. There's 3 ways to do that. Standardized file system. Playing back files with NWA Pro software. This is our newest playback tool. Nice, simple, we really like it. Mobilelink live tracking and streaming. As far as we know, we were the first video vendor to do live tracking and streaming. We started back in 2014. We've had several customers since 2014, and this product right here is ramping up. A lot more people coming and wanting to do some tracking. We were established in 2008. We specialize in mobile digital video recording, wireless networks, digital event recording, solutions management, and corporate training. We install video systems in trains, ambulances, police cruisers, fire engines, snowplows, school buses. Basically, a fleet is a fleet is a fleet. If you have a tracking need, we can help you with that. We continually monitor the technological needs of customers. We try to ensure you have the right products, services, and partnerships in place to address those issues. I'm the president of the company. My wife actually is the CEO. She's a marketing guru, I guess is the best thing I can call her. She does a lot of business and very helpful to the organization. What you get with these systems, well, we call this what's in the box. So when you get an MDVR system from us, whether we deliver it directly to you and you do the installs or whether we come to you and do the installs, this is what you get. We do a lot of work with The bus companies, Creative Bus Sales, maybe you've heard of them. We do a lot of work with Creative Bus Sales, Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Kansas, and hopefully Missouri one day. GPS, this is a passive GPS receiver, comes with every system. It simply mounts in an upright position, so it has eye to the sky, so it can bring in those coordinates to give you your GPS tracking. We call it passive because it does record into the video stream. And when we do a playback, everything is played back out into the video system, the video file itself rather, and everything plays back on the screen. So you'll have GPS on your maps, generally the Google Maps, as you watch the video. Wi-Fi network antenna. All of our systems now come with wireless radios already embedded on the boards. So if you have a need for a wireless offload, you've got a wireless network at your location. It's just a simple one-time fee to add the ADS, what we call ADS software to a server. Handheld controller. This is the way we operate the DVR if you have a monitor hooked up to it. Sensor cables. We have 8 sensors with every DVR. We also have what we call the LED panel. This is an extender of what we call the health check of your DVR. This is actually has become probably the most important piece of the whole puzzle here. As you guys know, there's about 15, 20, 30 different kinds of buses and vans that you use these days. And finding a place to mount a DVR is not always easy, especially when we're going to more vans rather than buses. So we'll always mount the DVR in the best location to keep it safe and away from anybody's feet or anything else like that. Then we put the LED extender right on the dash where the driver can see it. If you have a pre-trip exercise every day and it's expected that they tell you whether these lights are on or not, you're going to get 99.9% of all your incidents. This is a very popular item these days. An AV out cable, that way you can go hook up to it in the bus if you need to with a monitor. And then of course, keys to the lockbox and tools for keeping your cameras tight. Mobile Witness digital video recorder. Here's the front. Look at it. You have the front LED panels, LED lights indicating the health of the system. You can see there in the bottom lower right, those little LED readouts there. You've got the lid there that holds the hard drive inside it. You notice that the caddy is just basically a metal tray. We have no work going on there in order to play video. It's just a tray that holds it, and it plugs directly into the board, which is a big change for us and for a lot of systems out there. It takes away a trouble spot because we used to do processing inside the caddy. The hard drive must be locked or it will not record. It is also a power switch. The caddy will hold the 2.5-inch SATA drives for your memory, 500 gigs, 1 terabytes. We're now doing 2 terabytes as well. You have a 2.0 USB port at the bottom left, and that's for extracting video. I'll show you how we do that here in just a second. Here's the back side of the system. You have analog connections for 8 channels of audio or video. This is a hybrid DVR, so we can also do IP cameras, as you can see there with your RJ45 connections. You have a GPS receiver input connect. You have your Wi-Fi antenna input connect, and you have 3G, 4G for cellular connection. You also have your AV out plug for your sensors, for your power out, for your grounding sources. Installation process. We always tear the bus apart. We don't run cables on the outside. Everything is hidden. We pull panels down. We go into electrical boxes. We drill holes. We put grommets in those holes to make sure nothing can be chafed or hurt any of your other wires. When we walk out of a bus, it's like it came from the factory. And we've got the same installation crew we had for 10, 15 years. We haven't changed. We're all the same people. If you come to the shows, you'll see the same people at the shows every time. It sort of gets boring, but we like for you to get bored. Cameras. We put cameras anywhere you want them. We do have our 4 main risk factors, what we call, in our locations. So we have a standard installation. Camera 1's out over the hood, looking down the road. Camera 2 is always on the driver. Camera 3 is your passengers. And camera 4 is always on the lift or the ramp, depending on what type of vehicle it is. But and most of the time, this covers the major risk factors of the vehicle. But we, like I say, we put cameras wherever you might need them. Offloading video files. USB offload. If you remember the front of the DVR there, the bottom left, we have the USB 2.0 port, and I've got a thumb drive in the picture here. And I'll show you real quick what this looks like. Hook up the monitor.
Hook it up to a portable LCD monitor. Power on. And we're going to take our handheld controller to access this, the menu inside the DVR. I'm going to hit setup. Toggle over to file playback. There's my files. So let's just say I need the first two, which is 1635 and 1645. I'm going to hit my plus button here to highlight that file. I'm going to go to export selected. And then I'll hit my enter button. First, I got to have something to put it on. My USB stick. DVR. And export selected. It is now taking those two files, copying them off of the DVR, placing them on the thumb drive.
And I'm going to move on because of time. Another way to offload video is over the wireless network. If you have the auto download software loaded onto a server, and you're using your Wi-Fi on the buses. It's just like a handshake. The bus comes into the lot, handshakes with the server. It says, give me my video, and it goes over the wireless network. It even knows if it got video yesterday, so it doesn't, there's no redundancy here. It takes what it needs. My favorite way to get video files off of the DVR is just simply pull the hard drive. Put it USB port into your computer, go to the letter drive. As you can see there in that picture, I highlighted two files there. And I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy. I'm going to go to a folder I call bus 100 or whatever it might be. I'm going to right click, I'm going to hit paste. And I can offload an hour of video in a matter of minutes. It's a nice, easy way to do it.
Viewing a hard drive, you're going to need to view some video.
And because I think I'm going to go long here, I'm going to skip that. That was just an example of offloading video files directly from the hard drive. File playback via MWA Pro software. We load our video files into MWA Pro. We find the incident. We do file playback. You can take a snapshot. In the snapshot, you have all the data that's going on at the time of the video was taken. And then you have room at the bottom to input your own thoughts or your own comments, and then you save it simply to the employee file and cover it with the employee later as needed. Oftentimes you need video files for police or for insurance purposes, and the video is only a couple minutes long, so we can clip to a file. You simply choose your channel. Your channel in the picture here, we have channel 1 video, channel 1 audio playing. You export. Put your path in there where you want to save it to. At the top, you'll put your time in. We have 9:55 a.m. to 9:56 a.m. in this example. And then you'll simply hit the export button, and then it'll offload into that folder. We use Google Maps. Every playback file has metadata, so we take all that and show it to you in the playback tool, so you know what was going on, the speed of the bus, the heading, everything you might need to know to examine the situation. Our live service is Mobilelink live tracking and streaming. I'm going to try to go to a demo here. I've got a fleet pulled up in West Texas right now, and it plays on the maps, which I'll show you in a second. But if you need to look into the vehicle, you simply choose that vehicle. and activate.
It looks a little nasty, but it looks like it's mainly in the west.
Zoom in and out. Double click, go back to
It's
the
gonna be,
main.
Woody, and she's at 891 to reset that.
And here's the live map. Thumbs up, please, Mallory, if you're seeing this map. Negative?
I think it's still loading. Just a quick question. Was that live video like happening right now in West Texas?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Do you see the map now?
Yes, map has loaded. Thank you.
Okay, so here's all the vehicles running for this fleet currently. I just select the vehicle, zoom to vehicle, click on it. They're doing 66 miles an hour. And they are approximately US 180 Weatherford, Texas. And it is 12:18. I think my 15 minutes are really close to up. So we're gonna go back. And with that, I'll close, but we're here for questions though.
All right, it looks like we do actually have a couple of questions for you, and we can do these and then do a few more at the end, I'm sure. From Matt Crawford, are they solid state hard drives? Is that correct?
We can do solid state hard drives. Most of the ones we do are just regular 2.5 inch SATA drives, but we do solid state as well.
Okay, great. And then another one for you is, do you offer outside bullet cameras? Is the base unit a 4-camera unit?
We have 4 camera, we have an 8 camera, we have a 16 channel coming on board. We have a windshield 4-channel unit coming on board. What's different about these is that they all use the same platform. They'll all use Mobilelink and they'll all be played back in the same playback software. Yes, we have the outside cameras as well.
Okay, and is that the same thing as a bullet camera? I'm not familiar with the terms.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
yes, yes.
great. Thank you. Oh, here's another one. How many megapixels are the cameras?
1080p, 720p. We can do whatever we need to do out there.
And then I had a question with the Wi-Fi data transfer. Is that something that could be set up as like an automated process? You know, they pull into the lot, the information downloads with the date file, all that good stuff.
That's correct. That's the beauty of it. It is automatic. The software that sits on the server is always pinging. So basically it's saying, where's my bus? Where's my bus? And it's doing that 24 hours a day.
Right. So if my fleet went out with my person went out on a route and had no issues, it would automatically move to a storage system for me, and then would I get some sort of an alert or an email saying that was done successfully?
No, you've got Health Monitor that will give you alerts if something goes wrong, but it's not going to
Well,
take.
that's good.
Yeah.
No news is good news.
Yeah, basically. It does have a piece in there where you can go type in a date and a time that you may need, and then you prioritize it. So when the bus hits the lot, it says, "Oh, I got a request," so it goes and pulls that video first.
Okay. Is there a panic button to mark incidents in the system?
Yes, I'm glad somebody mentioned that because I forgot about it. Not only does it mark, but it does pop up an alarm on the Mobilelink playback tool that we saw where the maps are. So dispatch knows within about a half a second that there's a panic situation. They simply take their mouse, they click the alarm, and it goes right into the video. So a good dispatcher within 2 to 3 seconds will be in that bus.
Okay, great. And can you schedule downloads in advance, or does it have to be scheduled after the downloads?
Well, with the ADS, you can schedule a download. You can do a request with ADS.
Okay.
I think that addresses the question.
I think so. Perfect. Okay. If you've got any other questions for Chris, please feel free to put them in the Q&A and we will get those answered as we move along. But I'm going to open everything up for Eric. Thank you so much, Chris. I learned a lot today. Now I know what a bullet camera is. I'm very excited about that. And we got to spy on somebody in West Texas, which is always a little bit fun. And now I'm going to pass it on to Eric and hear about some biodiesel. Take it away, Eric. I'll get your presentation up. Can you see the presentation? Is it still sharing?
Yeah, it's not in slideshow, but at the presentations.
Okay, try one more thing here.
I can try sharing it from my screen also. If,
There we go. I think that's going to work now. If I can just get back to my Zoom, I can share it. Okay.
Perfect.
I think we got it. Thank you for your patience,
right.
everyone.
Thanks again, Mallory. And as mentioned, my name is Eric Lawson. I'm a fuel consultant with MegCorp. And today we're going to talk about biodiesel and fueling your fleet. Next slide, please. So a little bit about MegCorp, technical fuel experts in petroleum and renewable fuels for over 35 years. We operate a fuel quality testing lab and diesel helpline to provide technical support to all levels of the fuel distribution chain. Work with agricultural organizations since 2005 to provide assistance for biodiesel with technical support, education, and promotion. And we conduct over 100 educational seminars annually. We help fuel distributors with technical support, economics, and supply of biodiesel. And we work with diesel end users to utilize higher blends of biodiesel. Next slide, please. So today we're going to talk just a little biodiesel basics, benefits for buses and fleets, and then we'll do some question and answer. Biodiesel, technical definition. So biodiesel is a fuel comprised of monoalkyl esters of long chain fatty acids derived from vegetable oils or animal fats, designated B100 and meeting the requirement of Astm D6751. Biodiesel blend is basically a blend of biodiesel fuel meeting Astm D6751 with petroleum-based diesel fuel designated BXX, so basically the XX is the percentage or is the volume percentage of biodiesel that's included in that blend. Biodiesel, in plain English, biodiesel is renewable, clean burning diesel or fuel, diesel replacement fuel made from local resources, domestic resources. And biodiesel contains no petroleum, but it can be blended at any level with petroleum diesel and to create a biodiesel blend. Blends up to 20% can be used in existing diesel engines without any modifications. Next slide, please. So advanced biofuel. In order to be an advanced biofuel, which biodiesel is, you must reduce life cycle greenhouse gases emissions by 50% or more versus petroleum fuel. Biodiesel reduces greenhouse gases by up to 86%. Must be manufactured from a feedstock meeting the definition of renewable biomass. So some examples: soybean oil, corn oil from ethanol, animal fats, recycled grease, waste grease, and algae. Next slide, please. So why choose biodiesel? Biodiesel is a high performance fuel, similar power and performance as ultra low sulfur. It's got high cetane, it provides quicker starts with less smoke. It significantly enhances the lubricity of ultra low sulfur, reducing wear and prolonging the engine life. Detergency effect keeps injectors and fuel systems clean. Using B20 with DPF filters results in longer intervals between regeneration, ultimately reducing fuel consumption. You'll have less soot and reduced maintenance. Next slide, please. So where is this important? A little bit about lubricity in diesel fuel. Before 1993, the sulfur content of diesel was unregulated and could be as high as 5,000 parts per million. To protect the environment and allow for the addition of advanced pollution control devices, a majority of the sulfur is now removed from diesel fuel, resulting in the ultra low sulfur diesel. Process of removing sulfur negatively impacted the lubricity of the fuel. So we had a lot of good things that happened, but it negatively impacted the lubricity. Blends of biodiesel even lower than 2% replaced the lost lubricity. You can see a little chart on the screen that shows just the different percentages. And so 2%, the specification for ultra low sulfur needs an additive. It's 520 parts, and then even 2% gets you down to 250. The old high sulfur was 350 with the extra sulfur for lubricity. Next slide, please. So this is a project we started working with North Dakota Soybean and City Area Transit Grand Forks and MegCorp. Team together, we met with them, and one of the problems they were having with their in-town buses was they were having high idle percentage. Their high idle percentages created issues with the emissions and DPF filters. So they chose to go through and give B20 a try. And ultimately that's helped address all their DPF filter plugging issues. It's given them a major reduction of maintenance costs and downtime of equipment. It's also reduced the amount of DEF use they use for regeneration, as their regeneration happens less often. Their oil samples are coming back cleaner. They've got a reduction of 30 to 40% in soot levels, and they've seen a slight miles per gallon improvement. Next slide, please. So here's one example. This is one of their major issues they had. They were not getting up to speed or up to heat in order for the regeneration system to work like it should. So they were ending up every 2 to 3 months with plugged DPF filters, warning lights coming on. They had plug EGR tubes before biodiesel. They were having to take the DPF filters out every 2 to 3 months and clean them at best case scenario. Worst case scenario, they were having to replace them at $3,000 to $5,000 a pop because they had heated so much and cracked, and they just weren't regenning like they were supposed to. Some of the other issues they were experiencing was if they did a forced regen with the bus, they were getting so plugged up that they were actually when they would force regen it would blow smoke out around some of the seals and gaskets in the tailpipe, and causing smoke actually entering into some of the buses. So that was another complaint that they had that they were trying to solve. Next slide, please. So this shows, so then after 6 months of running B20, they were having zero issues. They were not having Warning lights come on. They were not having issues with their regen system working. And so after about 6 months, they just decided to pull one of their DPF filters just to see what they look like. And if you remember from the first slide, that slide on the right is the main filter, and you can see some debris on there, but it's much less caked on than the prior slide. And if you look at the secondary DPF filter after running biodiesel, it looks pretty clean in general. This greatly reduced. They're not doing anything regular, where they used to be 2 to 3 months, take these DPF filters out, clean them out and or replace. None of that is happening anymore since they started running B20. Next slide, please. So again, why choose biodiesel? Well, basically, few of the big advantages of biodiesel is from a sustainability program, whatever goals you're trying to meet. It's a drop-in fuel. Biodiesel is an ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, meeting ultra low sulfur requirements. B20 can be stored and dispensed through your existing diesel fuel system. There's no expensive infrastructure investment needed. Biodiesel blends up to B20 can be used in existing diesel engines without modifications. Most, if not all, manufacturers have approved up to B20. And like diesel fuel, biodiesel meets strict quality standards. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, biodiesel meets strict quality standards. In the mid 2000s, there was some quality issues, 2005, 6, but ASTM has specific biodiesel specifications. ASTM develops and publishes technical standards for fuels and other industries, and they're active on biodiesel standards since 1993. So today, if you're running your diesel engines just on number 2, your product you receive falls under ASTM D975. So D975 includes petroleum diesel and biodiesel blends up to 5% for on and off-road engines. Physical properties of blends up to 5% are the same as ultra low sulfur with 0%. Blends should be treated the same as number 2 diesel, B5 up to B5, and are used year-round throughout the U.S. ASTM D6751 is the approved specification for B100 used for blending up to B20 since 2001. It's a performance-based specification, feedstock and process neutral, and it's been revised and updated as well as just like diesel fuel specifications are in 2009 and 2012. D7467 are blends containing 6 to 20% biodiesel. So they're just enough different from the D975 up to 5% that they have a different ASTM specification, and they're for blends from 6 to 20% for on and off-road engines. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, as we had some issues back in the 2005, 2006, the biodiesel industry created a national biodiesel accreditation program called BQ 9000. So modeled similarly after manufacturing an ISO 9000, this program was put in place to start assuring quality in the product. It's an accreditation program for producers and marketers of biodiesel fuel, combination of ASTM standard for biodiesel and quality systems program that includes storage, sampling, testing, blending, shipping, distribution, and fuel management practices. This is open to any biodiesel manufacturer, marketer, or distributor in the United States and Canada. And a 2019 National Renewable Energy Lab biodiesel quality testing survey showed that U.S. biodiesel production consistently meets and exceeds the strict quality standards. Over 92% of the biodiesel now in the market is produced and handled by BQ 9000 approved companies. Next slide, please. Again, why choose biodiesel? Well, one of the big ones is meeting fleet's sustainability goals. Biodiesel is non-toxic. It's actually less toxic than table salt. It's got a high energy balance. For each unit of fossil energy used to produce biodiesel, 3.5 units of renewable energy are returned. That's the best of any US fuel made, and are made from renewable local sources. Next slide, please. Feedstocks. So 50% plus of the feedstock for biodiesel is made from soybean oil. There's percentages, feedstock of corn oil, canola oil, and then there's also recycled feeds and animal fats. So your waste greases and animal fats. But the largest market share is soybean oil. Next slide, please. So there's age-old debate about food and fuel when biodiesel came on the market. There was people out there that said, well, you're taking food and making fuel, therefore taking away from the food pool, which in reality, it's quite the opposite. The main purpose of growing a soybean is for the protein meal for livestock feed. But along with that, the soybean has 20% soybean oil. So if you don't have a outlet or utilization for that soybean oil, it limits the amount of soybeans you can grow, and limits actually can increase the cost because you can grow less if you don't have an outlet for the oil. So better utilization of the oil co-product can actually reduce the price of protein meal, and getting rid of that oil can actually increase the amount of protein meal available on the market. Next slide, please. So economic drivers for Missouri, the big things for Missouri. Soybeans. Soybeans is the state's top cash crop. It ranks 6th in the US for soybean production in 2020. Created 16,730 jobs, $697 million in wages, and $6.5 billion in revenues. On the biodiesel side in Missouri, there's 5 biodiesel production facilities producing 226 million gallons per year production capacity, which is 3rd in the US. Supports 3,268 jobs and provides 1.3 billion in economic activity. Next slide, please. Again, why choose biodiesel? Reduce your carbon footprint. Biodiesel is an advanced biofuel, like we talked earlier, reduces life cycle greenhouse gas emissions by 50+%, which is the requirement compared to petroleum diesel. So a B100 reduces greenhouse gases by up to 86%. B20 blends reduce greenhouse gases by 15%. There's also reduced tailpipe emissions in remaining older diesel engines. Next slide, please. So biodiesel's effect on emissions for pre-2007 diesel engines that are out there. You can see that there's great reduction in particulate matter, carbon monoxide, total unburned hydrocarbons, polycyclical aromatic hydrocarbons, and ozone potentials for both B100 and B20. Next slide, please. So with biodiesel, your fleet can increase lubricity and cetane. You can reduce maintenance and downtime, reduce tailpipe pollutants. You can decrease your carbon footprint. You can drive renewably, meet sustainability goals within your group. You can support the local economy, and you can increase energy security. Next slide, please. So we will also be at the Midwest Transit Conference, and would love for you guys to stop by our booth. We'll be, any of you that have diesel vehicles left in your fleet, we'd love to sit down and talk with you. If we don't see you at the conference, we may also be reaching out to you just to see where both parties, where you guys can benefit from the use of biodiesel, and where we can help assist you to reach those goals. So with that, I guess my contact information, and be open to any questions.
Okay, great. And we did have some questions come in. So let me start with Matt Crawford's questions in the chat. Is there any additional training for mechanics if there is a switch to biodiesel?
So there's a couple answers to that. There's no this project we did with Cities Area Transit in Grand Forks. They actually kept their mechanics in the dark that they were switching to see if there was any noticeable changes. So they weren't alerting them to the fact that there was going to be a change because they wanted a true test of whether biodiesel was working or if they had problems with it. And ultimately they experienced no problems. The other answer to that question is if you're looking for training with handling and things like that, reach out to us. We can put something together where we can actually do a meeting with your mechanics and that sort of thing. So I hope that answers questions, but that's kind of both sides of it.
Okay. And do you lose acceleration power if there's a switch made to biodiesel?
So as far as acceleration power, you go back to biodiesel technically has, because it's had some oxygen embedded in it, technically has less BTUs. So acceleration, I don't know if you notice so much in acceleration, but there is at B20, there's the chance for around 1% reduced fuel economy. But where that's important is if you think back to where we talked about the DPF filters and them being cleaner with the B20 use and using less DEF fluid, that's where that's important because that's all gained and then some, which we realized through the project we did with Cities Area Transit.
And let's move over to the Q&A. A few have come in over there. Did the Dakota Transit entity experience any gelling issues at the B20 levels in their extreme climate?
So they didn't. They ran, and I'll back up a step. They ran B20 until the end of December 2020, and then they ran B10 from in January, February, and March. And then from there, they went back to B20. They never experienced any issues with the B20, but just the colder climate, they had some concerns, so they backed off to a B10. Their buses are stored inside, which is helpful in the wintertime. So the fuel is warm when they enter the extreme outdoor temperatures. So.
And what kind of engine changes are necessary to run higher percentages than B20?
So that's something both National Biodiesel Board and many others are working on for approval. There is companies out there right now that are running higher biodiesel blends without any engine changes. And there's also some pilot programs coming in Minnesota for B30 and B50 usage, actually, with no modifications to the engine. The reason that we highly promote B20 is because most, if not all, engine manufacturers have approved up to B20. So when the time comes that we can get approvals beyond B20, that's when we would probably promote higher. But for the people that are actually running blends higher than B20, there's no engine modifications.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? I've got one of my own, but just checking in with the attendees. If anyone has any other questions, please send them our way now. If it seems like there's a lot of opportunity and advantages to running biodiesel in a fleet, either at 20%, 10%, or even at B100. My question would be, like, what would be the biggest risk that you would want to look out for when switching your fleet over to biodiesel? I mean, is there anything, red flags or anything like that to look for?
Right. So you bring up a good point, right? Right now you know, the one advantage that biodiesel has currently over other alternatives, I know lots of people are going down the path of electrical and all of those things, is if you're looking to reduce your carbon footprint, your one big opportunity right now is you can use it. If you've got diesel fleet, you can use your existing infrastructure. The biggest thing that we recommend prior to moving into B20 into your infrastructure is we like you to do tank bottom samples of your current storage to make sure there's no water present. If there's water present, it can create problems with biodiesel blends. And then, you know, biodiesel in a B20 matter will operate down to at least 20 above with no issues, and probably further. But we kind of use that as a guideline. And so the only other thing to consider is if you are going to get into much colder climates than that, is maybe reducing the blend. Minnesota, we run April through September, we run B20 as a state mandate. And then October 1st through the end of March, we reduced to B5, just to give people time to get their systems, you know, on a whole statewide basis, give people time to get their systems down to a lower level. Whereas if you're only managing your own level at an individual site, you can do that much easier without, you know, so you can run B20 longer. And obviously if you get farther south than Minnesota, you get little bit warmer temperatures, so that helps as well.
And currently, is there abundant availability of biodiesel as far as availability in, I guess, most of Missouri, if not all?
So with the biodiesel plants that are in Missouri, that creates availability. There's also a few blending sites around the Kansas City area, and we're also working on projects with Missouri in regards to some infrastructure projects to make offsite blending, you know, just basically make the product more readily available.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any other questions for our guests, for Chris or for Eric? Well, I learned a lot. I didn't know much about biodiesel going into this, or some of the onboard technology. I've been told that some of the cameras, you can actually read some of the passengers' phones, which is pretty neat. But I know that's some pretty intense technology coming down the pipes. But anyways, so thank you guys so much, and thank you to no more questions. Thank you, Matt. Thank you to all of our attendees here, our board. And we are definitely looking forward to seeing everybody in St. Louis, at least on the virtual version of the conference, September 7th to the 9th. You won't want to miss it. Our next education series event is actually October 5th at 11 a.m. And we're actually going to hear from CTAA Executive Director Scott Bogren and Senior Communications Events Legislator Specialist Taylor Cluck. I think his last name is Clocky. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. And report author Stuart Mader, founder and director of advocacies for VAX Transit, about transit as a catalyst for the community response. We've seen that a lot, how transit responds directly to the community. Matt and I know Crawford and Mark Maverick can both attest to that, particularly Mark Maverick, Jeff Tran's response to some of the disasters that have happened recently over the past year or two in Jefferson City. So it'll be interesting to see what those gentlemen have to say about that report, and hope you can join us again. That's October 5th at 11 a.m. You can sign up now at Missouri Public Transit Association website, mopublictransit.org. Let's see if we've covered everything. It looks like we have. And if you're not a member, I think all of you are. We'd love to have you become a member. And any questions or demo requests? Perfect. Thank you, Chris. You can contact Chris. And all of this will also be available in a wrap-up blog. I'll have the video. I'll have Chris and Eric's information, and links to their website, all of that good stuff, so you can share it with your crew. and send them any direct questions you may have thought of, maybe later tonight, 2 a.m., those burning biodiesel and digital camera type questions that you're thinking of. And I think that's it. Happy Tuesday. I hope you all have a wonderful lunch, and we will see you in a couple of weeks at the conference.
Thanks for
Thank you.
hosting.
Thank
Yep,
you.
thank
Thank
you,
you
guys.
guys so much. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.